Welcome back to Rewind. I'm Net.
And I'm Ethan. If you're new here, we basically get paid to be nostalgic and avoid going to therapy.
Speak for yourself. I'm very well adjusted. Today, we're doing something big. We're going deep. We're talking about childhood, the whole messy, beautiful, weird ecosystem of it.
The before times, the era before taxes, before rent, before the existential dread of checking your bank account on a Monday morning.
Exactly. We're talking about the smells, the sounds, the irrational fears, the utter freedom. We've got about an hour. Ethan, on a scale of 1 to 10, how nostalgic are you feeling right now?
I'm at a solid 7. I'm teetering on the edge of looking up my childhood home on Google Earth, which is a dangerous game.
Dangerous, but inevitable. Okay, let's do it. Let's start with the physical space. Where are we? Describe the house you grew up in, the sensory version.
Okay, sensory version. The house was old, built in the 60s, didn't get updated until the 90s, so the primary smell was basement. Not a scary basement, but that cool, concrete, slightly musty smell that hits you the second you open the front door, because the front door opened directly into the living room and the basement stairs were right there.
Yes, that specific cool air that felt like it was from another planet.
Exactly. And then depending on the time of year, it was either pine saw, my mom was a pine saw obsessive, or in the fall, the smell of wet leaves and whatever my dad was burning in the fireplace, which was usually just newspaper because he had no idea how to start a real fire.
The smell of ambition failing.
Exactly. What about you?
My house smelled like a bakery that was also a petting zoo. My mom was a bread maker, like sourdough starter on the counter, flour dusted on everything, and we had two golden retrievers. So it was yeast, dog fur, and this specific carpet cleaner my mom used to spot treat the stains from the dogs. It was a very homey smell, comforting, but also slightly damp.
Damp comfort. That's the thesis of childhood.
Damp comfort, I love that. Let's talk about the structure of the house, the geography. Did you have a forbidden room or a room that just felt different?
The formal living room, the one with the white carpet that no one was allowed to walk on, it was like a museum diorama of a family that didn't exist. There was a glass coffee table that had these big, heavy art books on it, like a massive Ansel Adams book. And you knew if you even breathed on it, you get in trouble. It was the room where your relatives would sit during Thanksgiving and whisper about politics.
The look but don't touch room. We had that too. But my favorite geography was the secret spaces. The small closet under the stairs that was too shallow for storage, so it just became my reading nook. I'd drag a sleeping bag in there, a flashlight, and a stack of Goosebumps books. It felt like my own little capsule.
That's the pinnacle of childhood, claiming liminal spaces. The space under the stairs, the gap behind the couch, the fort made of blankets. It's about creating a world that's just yours, an inch of privacy in a house where you had none.
Okay, shifting gears, let's talk about time, because the perception of time in childhood is so warped. Can we contrast the school year versus summer break?
Ah, the binary. The school year was a prison of structure. It was measured in increments of 45 minutes. The bell was God. You had the tyranny of the lunch schedule, the humiliation of gym class. Time moved at a glacial pace. I remember looking at the clock in fourth grade, the one above the blackboard, and genuinely believing the second hand was moving backwards.
The agony of the last 10 minutes of the school day.
Pure torture. But summer? Summer was an ocean. It wasn't measured in hours, it was measured in the height of the sun. You woke up because the sun was blasting through your thin curtains and the sound of the lawnmower. You went inside when the streetlights came on. There was no in between.
Yes, and the boredom. That specific summer boredom where you'd lie on the floor in front of a box fan, just letting the air blow over you, convinced you were going to die of nothing to do. And then out of that boredom, the best things emerged.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Boredom was the soil. If we weren't bored, we never would have built the slip and slide death trap in my backyard that ended with me getting a concussion.
Wait, I need this story. Slip and slide death trap?
Okay, we were bored. It was August, 105 degrees. We had a standard slip and slide, but that wasn't enough. So we added dish soap, Dawn, the grease-fighting kind, for more slipperiness. Then we added a kiddie pool at the end. Then we decided we needed a ramp.
So we took a sheet of plywood, propped it up on cinder blocks, and put the slip and slide over it. The idea was you'd launch into the pool. In reality, I hit the ramp, the plywood shifted, and I face planted into the edge of the kiddie pool. I saw stars, literal cartoon stars.
Walting with laughter. Were your parents home?
My dad was. He came out, looked at me crying, covered in dish soap and blood, looked at the plywood and cinder block contraption, sighed the sigh of a man who had given up and just said, "You're fine. Go hoss off."
The casual negligence of 90s parenting. It was a gift. It allowed for the slip and slide death trap. My summers were less dangerous, but equally feral. We lived near a creek, and we'd just go. We'd catch crayfish, we'd build dams, we'd come home with leeches. There were no phones, no check-ins. My mom's rule was be home when the streetlights come on.
The streetlight covenant. It was universal. It was the only clock that mattered.
Okay, so who were the people in this world? Who was your childhood best friend, the one you built the death trap with?
A kid named Leo. Leo was the instigator. I was the anxious architect. I'd think of the idea and I'd worry about the logistics, the structural integrity. Leo would just grab the hammer and start swinging. We were inseparable from ages 7 to 12. We had a pact that we'd buy a house together when we grew up, like an old folks' home, but just for us.
Did it happen?
No, he moved to Arizona in middle school. It was devastating. It was my first real heartbreak. I remember crying in my room and feeling so angry that the world could just move my friend 1,500 miles away without asking me. That was the moment childhood ended a little bit. The realization that things don't last.
The geographic relocation, the true villain of childhood friendships. For me, my best friend was a girl named Maya. She lived across the street. We had a system. We had walkie-talkies, Channel 5, codename Eagle. We'd signal when we were allowed to come out. We had choreographed dances to Spice Girls. We had a whole language.
The walkie-talkie era. Such a short window, from like 8 to 11. After that, it's not cool. But during that window, it's the most powerful technology in the world.
It was our internet. Maya and I fell out in high school over something stupid. I think it was a boy, as it often is. And that was a different kind of heartbreak, the intentional drift, when you just stop choosing each other.
The end of a childhood friendship is weird because there's no closure. There's no breakup conversation. You just stop calling on the walkie-talkie. Did you ever reconnect?
We're Facebook friends. We like each other's posts when we get a new job or have a baby. But it's not the same. It's a ghost of that intimacy.
But there's something beautiful about that intensity, right? As adults, we don't form friendships like that. We don't have best friends in the same way. We have friends, work friends, couples we do brunch with. But that primal, you're my person, we have a secret handshake, I will die for you energy, that's exclusive to childhood.
That's a really good point. It's pure, uncomplicated by scheduling. We can't talk about childhood without talking about the media that shaped us. The shows, the movies, the music we consumed until we wore out the VHS tape or the CD.
I was a Nick kid through and through. Clarissa Explains It, The Secret World of Alec Mack. I wanted to be a teenager so badly. I thought teenagers were these mythical creatures who had all the answers and wore really cool flannel shirts.
The myth of the teenager, right? We thought 16 was basically adulthood. You'd get your license and suddenly you'd be wise. You'd know how to talk to girls. You'd have a leather jacket. Then you turn 16 and you're still the same insecure kid, just with the ability to operate a 2-ton vehicle.
It was a lie. What about movies? What movie did you watch so many times that you can still recite it verbatim?
Now and Then, the ultimate coming-of-age movie about girls. It was my blueprint for friendship. I wanted to have a seance in a cemetery. I wanted to ride bikes to the town pool. I wanted to have a dramatic falling out and then a dramatic reconciliation. I probably watched it twice a week for 2 years straight.
That's the thing about childhood media. It wasn't just entertainment, it was instruction. It was telling you what your life was supposed to look like. A gang of friends, a summer adventure, a spooky house on the corner. My childhood didn't have a spooky house, but I wanted one because of movies.
Right. And then there was the music, the first album you ever bought with your own money. That's a rite of passage. Mine was Spice by the Spice Girls. I saved up my allowance, went to Sam Goody, and bought the cassette tape.
Cassette tape. There's a sound that's extinct. The sound of clicking it into the player, the faint hiss before the music started.
Yes, and the anxiety of the tape getting eaten by the player.
I was a CD kid. My first CD was Dookie by Green Day. I bought it because of the cover, that weird cartoon of the bombs. I didn't even know what punk was. I just knew my parents probably wouldn't like it, which was the whole point.
The first rebellion. Spending your money on something that creates a sonic boundary between you and your parents. That was the first draft of your adult identity. Okay, we've covered the good. Let's get into the shadows. What were you afraid of? Irrational kid fears.
Immediately, quicksand.
Yes.
I was convinced quicksand was going to be a daily threat. Every muddy patch in the backyard, potential quicksand. I had a whole plan. Lie flat, distribute the weight, slowly paddle to safety. It was a completely manufactured fear from cartoons. Also the dark, but not the dark itself, what was in the dark, specifically the alien from Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, the Unsolved Mysteries theme song. Robert Stack, that trench coat, that was pure terror.
That show did psychological damage to an entire generation. They'd have a segment on a missing person, then a segment on UFO sightings, and then a segment on ghostly apparitions. And as a kid, you're like, all of this is happening in my town tonight while I'm in my bed?
My fear was more domestic. I was terrified of the furnace. It was in the basement, and it made this loud click, thump, whoosh sound when it turned on. In my mind, it was a sleeping dragon. If I made too much noise, it would wake up and eat me. So I would tiptoe past the basement door.
The click, thump, whoosh. I know exactly the sound. That's a core memory. Okay, let's go deeper. Not just the irrational fears, but the first real scar. The first time you realized the world wasn't safe. Not a monster under the bed, but real life.
For me, it was 9/11. I was in fourth grade. I didn't understand what was happening, but I understood my teacher was crying. I understood my mom came to pick me up early and was holding me too tight. It was the first time I felt that adult fear, the fear that has no monster, just uncertainty.
That's the pivot point for a lot of us, the end of the innocent childhood era. For me, it was a little more personal. My grandfather got sick. I was 10. I remember seeing my dad, who was my invincible hero, crying in the garage. That shattered the illusion. The idea that dads cry, that people you love can just malfunction. It was a harsh download of reality.
It's weird, isn't it? We talk about childhood as this idyllic bubble, but it's also where you get your first lessons in grief, in disappointment, in the fact that adults are just making it up as they go along.
Childhood isn't just the happy parts. It's the crucible. It's where you learn the emotional vocabulary you're going to use for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not.
So after all that, the forts, the fears, the friends who moved away, the movies that shaped us, what did we carry forward? What's the one thing from your childhood that you still have, physically or emotionally?
Physically, I still have a small scar on my knee from the slip and slide incident. It's a reminder to not let ambition exceed safety standards. Emotionally, I think I carried forward the ability to be alone. Because I was an only child for a while, I learned how to entertain myself. I learned that boredom isn't an emergency. I think that served me well as an adult. A lot of adults can't sit in a room with just their own thoughts for 10 minutes without reaching for their phone. I can. Because I spent 1,000 summer afternoons lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the streetlights to come on.
That's beautiful. I carried forward the hunger for community. Growing up with siblings in a neighborhood full of kids, I learned that life is better when it's shared, even the bad stuff. I'm the friend who organizes the group chat, who plans the dinners, who makes sure we're all still connected. I think that's me chasing the feeling of being 10 years old, running down the street to Maya's house because I just had to tell her something.
So we're opposites. You run toward people, I'm comfortable on my own. But we both ended up here, talking about it. I guess that's the point.
That is the point. We spend our whole lives trying to understand the first chapter so we can write the rest.
We're almost at the hour. That went by faster than a summer afternoon.
It did. We didn't even get to school lunches or the terror of show and tell or the politics of the playground.
That's part 2. We'll come back. For now, thank you for listening. We're Nat and Ethan.
This has been Rewind. Go call your childhood best friend if you still can. Or don't. Some things are better left in the fort under the stairs.
Deep.
Okay, until next time, be kind to your inner child. They're still in there, probably worried about quicksand.
And the furnace dragon.
And both laugh. The lo-fi beat plays for a few seconds before the sound of a cassette tape ejecting.